As an ordinary person who doesn't know how to fight, Ren Mu, who suddenly crossed into the Ultraman world, thought he was going to be completely cold, but unexpectedly became the Leonix. Just looking at Melba, the weak chicken in the combat equipment, and Kadora, the Star Devourer who is exerting great power in the chat group, well, it's really great to open cheats. Introduction is weak, please refer to the main text, keywords of the novel. Leonix, joining chat groups without pop-ups, Leonix, joining chat groups. Download the complete text, Leonix, joining chat groups. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Traversing, Becoming the Leonix. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Traversing, Becoming the Leonix. On the barren land, a young man is struggling to walk. He has not drunk water for a long time, and even though he is no longer a human, Ren Mu, who is still flesh and blood, still needs a water source. Taking a glance at the combat equipment in his hand, Ren Mu forcefully suppressed the idea of summoning Melba to take him to search for water. This planet is a resurrection site among the candidates of Lebronx, and Lebronx from all over the universe will come here to fight. It can be said that the current planet Hama has become a huge chicken-eating ground, and it is not a good thing to expose oneself recklessly when one only has one merba. Why am I so unlucky? Recalling what happened 3 days ago, Ren Mu could only let out a tragic howl. One night, he was reliving the Pokémon battle of the Round Valley, which was the battle of the great monsters. However, to his surprise, as he watched him fall asleep, Ren Mu woke up to find himself in a wilderness. Before he could react, a sudden sense of slumber struck, causing him to fall into a coma again. After waking up, something suddenly appeared next to him. As a loyal fan of the AO series, Ren Mu could recognize at a glance what that thing was, a combat device that could summon monsters for combat. In summary, with the idea that, since we have traveled through time, perhaps this is also true, we successfully summoned the super ancient dragon. Melba Queen. As a newbie welfare. Ren Mu immediately realized where she was and what had happened to her body just now. The Lebronx, who once ruled the universe for tens of thousands of years, after dying for unknown reasons, the surviving spiritual body scattered his genes throughout the universe. Any living organism that received the genetic factors of the Lebronx will be called the Lebronx. And the Lebronx will also possess the power of the Lebron Dorians, freely controlling monster battles. Among all races, the most famous and strongest Leonix is undoubtedly Beria Ultraman, who has been living and dying, serving as a model worker for many years as a big boss. Under normal circumstances, a race will not have multiple Leonix. The Leonix of Earthlings already has the protagonist, Ray, let alone Ren Mu's physical journey. How could there be extraordinary power? But based on the current situation, it seems that just when he was unconscious, the Lebron Dorian appeared and implanted his genes into his body, and gave him a fighting device and a novice monster as a friendly gift. No, maybe it was because of the body modification that I passed out. Although he is no longer a human, to be honest, Ren Mu is quite grateful to the Lebron-wishing people. After all, as a powerless otaku, he has traveled to a strange planet and to be honest, he doesn't even think he can survive. Now, due to changes in my bloodline, I not only have Melba to control battles, but my body is also growing rapidly. This is an extraordinary power that only exists in legends. However, why don't you give a stronger monster, sir? Just give it a thumbs up to GOL. Coming into a shadow, Ren Mu, who had taken a brief rest, took out his combat equipment and began to feel pain again. There's no way, who made Melba this monster too weak? As a monster that only appeared once in my impression, it was defeated by Red Light Digia in aerial form within a minute. Hey! The output is not high, the body is brittle, and the only flying ability that can be said to be around Mach 6 in the atmosphere. Zuga, who appeared in groups in the finale, was humiliated on the ground, and their speed was still above Mach 8.5. This is not as good as Gorzon. At least Gorzon has rough skin and thick flesh, and can absorb magma energy to evolve into a flame. Gorzon also has hope. What kind of form does your Melba have? After thinking about the appearance of EX Gamara, Tyrant, Black Golden Bridge, and even the dark armor of the Ampere Star Man, Ren Mu's head began to ache. He only wants to live now, but even the original protagonist Ray is so strong that he is close to death. As a Leonix, if he doesn't have the strength, he doesn't even have the qualification to escape. There are a total of 3 squares in the combat equipment, and there are still 2 squares that can be used. This planet was personally selected by Lobrando, and wild monsters are definitely not missing. Taking advantage of some peaceful days now, perhaps we can take the opportunity to develop. Moreover, although Melba is weak, if operated specifically, he may even have a powerful monster comparable to the Tyrant. After taking a break, Ren Mu continued to set off, preparing to head towards the volcanic zone. After all, Gorzon can absorb the energy of magma for evolution. On this planet full of monsters, it is difficult for ordinary Gorzon to survive. Only by evolving to Flame Gorzon can they have the qualification to compete with other powerful monsters. In order to become stronger, Gorzon will definitely go to the volcanic zone. After all, although monsters cannot speak, it does not mean they are stupid. Just before Ren Mu could continue moving forward, a voice echoed through his mind. Welcome to the chat group, your nickname is Leonix. Join the chat group with you, as well as Yumengade, Tian Ho, and the Almighty. Please get along well in the chat group, and explore various functions on your own. What? Isn't it just my golden finger to just become the Leonix? After experiencing events such as time travel and becoming a Leonix, Ren Mu was not surprised, but began to think about the meaning brought by the names of other group members. Yumengad, the son of Loki in Norse mythology, is a snake that surrounds the world, possessing a body that can wrap around the Atrium world and a deadly poison that can poison Thor, the god of thunder. If this Yemengade is from the mythological scriptures, it is undoubtedly a thick leg. After all, in terms of combat power alone, he can be said to guarantee the top 5 in Nordic mythology, and with hard work, he can strive to win the top 3. After all, there are so many mythological stories in the world, and there are also many goddesses, such as Hera in Greek mythology, Freyja in Nordic mythology, and so on. I am currently unable to determine my true identity. As for the omnipotent person, Ren Mu really can't recognize it. At most, he thinks of Leonardo da Vinci in history. Is he? Of course, these are just the guesses made by Ren Mu himself through the chat group novels he read. Perhaps this is not the case. No one speaks. That's right. When encountering such a situation, most people would first hide themselves and then collect intelligence. So let me start. For this golden finger, Ren Mu has deep hope, and there is no way he can do it. He is now carrying the fate of the Leonix battle, and without cheating, he may not be able to defeat other candidates. If friends who have read this book find it interesting, please click on bookmark to give the author some motivation. Thank you everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Multiple Metaverse Communication Systems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Multiple Metaverse Communication Systems Leonix. Hello everyone, I know what's happening now is a bit strange, but please calm down. After all, tension cannot solve any problems. In the magnificent palace of Asgard, Odin, Thor, and the father and son of Loki nervously looked at Freyja, who was undergoing a physical examination. A few minutes ago, something claiming to be a chat group suddenly appeared in the mind of the Queen Freyja, and there were also other people who were pulled into the chat group. When using magic to check herself but no problems were found, Freyja immediately reported to Odin and underwent a rigorous physical examination again. Your Majesty, the Queen's body shows that everything is normal, and we can't find anything strange on our examination. The female physician reported the results to Odin and gradually withdrew from the room. Who on earth dares to take action against Asgard? Thor, the god of thunder, was like a crazy lion at this moment, angry as he wanted to tear apart the guy who dared to attack his mother. Even Loki beside him had a bad expression. He was deeply in love with Freya, and now someone dared to take action against his mother, which made even Loki, who was quite deep in the city, look ugly. Odin ignored his two sons and came to his wife. He held her hand and didn't say anything, but his expression showed that Odin's mood was worse and more angry than his two sons. Even the belligerent Thor, compared to Odin in his youth, is just like a child playing house. Wait, Your Majesty. Someone has already started speaking. Freyja frowned and spoke out the entire text that appeared in the chat group. Even if she was caught, she would help her husband and children get through the difficulties. Leonix. I know everyone may be a bit confused, but I have a guess about it, which is that we inadvertently added a multiple metaverse communication system. The Almighty Man, multiple metaverse communication systems. Are you sure, this is not a joke? In the magic workshop, a beautiful woman with a curvaceous figure and long black hair frowned. It was obvious that the words of the group member named Leonix had had an impact on her worldview. In an ordinary room, the Dragon King with his golden pupils flickered as he carefully experienced Ren Mu's amazing words. Leonix. Of course, as far as I know, many empires with diverse spheres of influence have their own set of cross-universe communication and teleportation technologies. The current situation is very obvious. We are being pulled into a cross-universe communication system. This Ren Mu is not lying, he can really cross the universe and shake people in the future land of light. The Almighty Man, so how do you determine that we are in different universes? Obviously, such a magical thing, if we don't figure it out, Da Vinci Sauce won't be able to sleep. Although the spirit doesn't seem to need to sleep. Leonix. Well, because at Yumengia has a group of friends. Pointing to her nose, Xiaomi, who was only 11 years old, frowned because of me. Leonix. In the universe I am currently in, there is a story and legend called Nordic mythology circulating on Earth. It is said that Jemengad is the child of the evil god Loki. He is the snake that surrounds the courtyard, his body can surround the entire world, and his venom can poison Thor, the god of thunder. But now that humans have already entered the era of interstellar colonization, there are no monsters on the entire Earth, so I am confident that different universes are connected here. What is it? Listening to the message conveyed by his mother, Thor was completely confused. What does that mean? After Loki gave birth to a snake with a woman, whose body was so large that it could encircle the entire world, and then died under the venom of that snake. Why does this sound so strange? Interstellar colony. Capturing this word, Da Vinci and Xiaomi stood up together, knowing that in their world, humans have not yet crossed the Earth. Especially Xiaomi, although the Dragon Clan had already learned that the Earth was round due to advanced knowledge and a strong body, they did not choose to enter the universe for various reasons. Why? It's simple, because there are no major elements in space, coupled with the harsh environment and distant distance from other planets, no dragon can fly out of space. During the decisive battle between Long Sanlu and Bai Wang, it was explicitly set that the highest point of dragon flight was the rarity of elements at a height of 30,000 meters. After a brief discussion, it was determined that this chat group was connected to different universes, and everyone else's thoughts became lively. Especially Xiaomi, the little dragon girl, knows what she is facing. With the revival of the Black Emperor, all humans and dragons in this world cannot escape the final judgment. On the day I return to the world, all rebellious officials should die. This is not just empty talk. Ren Mu looked at the calm chat group and knew that the news was somewhat shocking, so he didn't urge it. After all, not everyone had read hundreds of chat novels. Only by quickly calming down the group members can they communicate better and make some transactions. Patting his body, Ren Mu prepared to continue on his journey to find some wild monsters that were not particularly strong and practice their skills first. The monster tamed by the Leonix, if its owner puts their heart into it, will grow in battle after battle. Just like Ray's Gamara, evolving from an ordinary Gamara to an EX Gamara, a Gamara fights from start to finish. Soon, Ren Mu's idea came true. Accompanied by the shaking earth and the shattered ground, the ferocious carnivorous monster Guduan, waving his whip, appeared in front of Ren Mu. This is Guduan. It's really lucky to meet an underground monster as the first opponent. As an underground monster, Guduan does not have the ability to fly or emit energy, which is good news for the flying Melba. As long as you are careful with Guduan's double whip, then Ren Mu will benefit an invincible position. Taking out the combat equipment, Ren Mu was about to summon Melba for battle, but before he could even pose properly, he suddenly thought of something very important. Leonix has started a group live broadcast. Would you like to watch it? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. LeBron's bloodline is terrifying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. LeBron's bloodline is terrifying, group live streaming. Xiaomi hesitated for a moment, but still clicked in. Because this chat group is too tempting for her, big enough to make her take some risks. Her current timeline is in 2004, and although the live streaming industry has not even shown any signs, she can understand the general meaning of live streaming simply by looking at the words. With the idea that even watching the live broadcast wouldn't kill the dragon, Xiaomi clicked in. Please choose the first or third perspective. Third perspective. I finally had an opportunity to explore different universes. How could I only use the first perspective? Yemengade enters the live broadcast room, the versatile person, and the queen enters the live broadcast room. The first thing that catches the eye is a handsome young man in his 20s, who is currently situated on a desolate mountain range and his clothes are somewhat tattered. Ladies and gentlemen, through text communication within the chat group, I have temporarily assumed that the chat group can allow us, who may have different languages, to communicate with each other. I have started this live broadcast to thoroughly prove that we are not in the same universe. I think there shouldn't be any Guduan in the world you are in, right? Looking towards Ren Mu's finger, the three people entering the live broadcast room saw a ferocious beast that was 50 meters tall, weighing 25,000 tons, and had orange-red eyes. This is. Even the three women who entered the live broadcast room, Leonardo da Vinci, had extraordinary experiences, but they were shocked to see such a burly monster. Seeing Guduan getting closer and closer to him, Ren Mu picked up the combat equipment in his hand and shouted angrily, "Come out, Melba." Press the button, and the golden light cluster turns into a card with Melba printed on it, spinning out like a card swipe. After passing through the top of the combat device, the ancient dragon, which is 57 meters tall and weighs 46,000 tons, reappears in this world. Hungry Guduan saw a monster suddenly appear in front of him and excitedly ran towards Melba, without considering whether he could fight or not. Melba, fly into the air and use destructive light. Leaping up and reaching the top of Melba's head, Ren Mu gave the order. If you have air superiority, you should make good use of it. Why engage in close combat with Guduan? Melba, who screamed, spread his wings and flew into the sky with a gentle wave. Reality is different from tokusatsu dramas. In tokusatsu dramas, some agile monsters or forms may not show much due to cost reasons, but reality does not. When a monster that is 57 meters tall and weighs tens of thousands of tons can easily fly at a speed of Mach 6 in the atmosphere, believe me, anyone would tremble and kneel down begging for God's redemption. Guduan roared angrily, waving his whip to strike Melba in the sky, but as an underground monster, he had no ability to attack flying targets. Melba, use destructive light. At a height of thousands of meters, after confirming that Guduan could not cause harm to himself, Ren Mu issued an order. Since you cannot take action, let me do it. The orange melbanic light with electric current was released from his eyes, accurately hitting Guduan's body. Misaligned, Melba aimed at the double whip or head output. Guduan has rough skin and thick flesh, and it is difficult for Melba's light to directly kill him. In order to prevent Guduan from escaping, Ren Mu chose to attack the head and double whip, one with high damage and the other with the ability to disable the opponent's digging and running tools. Upon receiving the command, Melba continued to attack, but this time it was a whip aimed at Guduin everywhere. Although this place is located in a mountainous area, there is no barrier enough to block the monster that is tens of meters tall. Faced with the destructive light from Melba, Guduin can only be beaten for nothing. When he wants to dig the ground and run away, the monsters in the sky will fight on land to harass him. Finally, under the howl of Guduin, its right whip was shattered by a laser, and a large amount of blood and flesh scattered on the ground. Take advantage of this, Melba is diving at high speed. Ren Mu's eyes lit up and he ordered Melbali to solve the battle directly using the flying super high speed. At an acceleration of 6 times the speed of sound, Melba aimed at Guduin's head with his hard beak as a weapon and plunged it. Accompanied by towering blood, the monster's massive body fell to the ground, leaving only the mighty dragon that shattered the sky and the man above its head. The live broadcast has ended, and Leonix has closed the live broadcast room. After closing the live broadcast, Ren Mu covered his fiercely beating heart and remained silent for a long time, sighing, "LeBron's bloodline is so terrifying." Even as an ordinary person who has never fought before, he can become belligerent and skilled under the influence of the Leonix factor, easily commanding Melba to defeat Guduin. Even a skinny mansion can do this, so aren't those well-known Leonix even stronger? Capturing new monsters and engaging in a large number of battles to evolve Melba need to be done simultaneously. As for the chat group, I hope Yumenjia and Tian can provide some help. Although there are no so-called group leaders or administrators to make Ren Mu feel more relaxed, it also means that group members need to spend more time getting to know each other, which is not good news for Ren Mu. Of course, he didn't know how much shock his behavior had caused for other members of the group. After leaving the live broadcast, Xiaomi was momentarily stunned for a minute, then quickly got up and rummaged through the boxes to find a CD, which was the most famous work of Yuengu Company in this land and a beautiful memory of a generation of young people. Digga Ultraman. Looking at Melba next to Digga on the cover, even as the Dragon King, she felt a bit dizzy at the moment. No way, right? The shocking fact rolled up Shami's brain like a paste-like gungnir, making it difficult for her to understand what was happening now. As a human virtual work, the Ultraman series is actually real. At this point in 2004, even Infinite Terror, as the pioneer of Infinite Flow, had no trace of it, and Xiaomi naturally did not know that there was still a chat flow genre in the world. Open the website and only accompany my silly brother to read about Ultraman. Xiaomi needs to carefully search for Ultraman settings. The author is a virgin who has been single for thousands of years. Perhaps the portrayal of female characters may not be good. Please forgive me. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Confirming Goals. Little Dragon Girl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Confirming Goals. Little Dragon Girl Leonix. So, now you're sure we're in a different universe. Using the destructive light from Melba to light a fire, Ren Mu is having a barbecue. As for the raw materials, besides Guduin, what else can they be? Damn it, Yuengu never said whether Guduin can be eaten or not. Why isn't it a two-tailed monster? At least they officially certify that the meat is lobster-flavored. Taking a glance at the barbecue on the slate, Ren Mu was also quite conflicted. This was his first time eating monsters, and who knows if there might be any problems with it. However, Guduin is an underground monster with no means of venom attack, so it should not be poisonous, right? Yumenjia said, well, although it's hard to believe, it's indeed true. Can nonsense be true? She is the Dragon King, and who in the world can hypnotize her like this? Black King. If that guy wakes up, it's not just hypnosis. The almighty man, controlling monsters that only exist in myths and legends for combat is hard for even me to imagine. As the saying goes, reality is different from tokusatsu dramas. It won't be impossible to break a window or a manhole cover due to so-called budget issues. Gudrun can create wind blades that cut through the earth with just a flick of his whip, while Melba's destructive light can easily crush rocks and blow up mountains. In the battle just now, the surrounding land and mountains were severely damaged, and this monster is not good at energy radiation. If it were for entities like Jeton or Galatron, they could destroy a civilization or even a planet with just one strike. If it were the one carefully cultivated by the Baptistians, the evil god that dominates the death of the multiverse, the destruction of the galaxy would probably be an easy task. Tian said, although Asgard also has wild beasts, they are far inferior to the monsters he just saw. Even on the mount of her eldest daughter Hela, the demon wolf Fenrir was far inferior to the monsters in the live broadcast. Freya couldn't imagine what kind of conditions were needed to hatch such a terrifying monster. Wait. Asgard. Not a single fool is present. Asgard combined with the nickname of the queen, and all three of them guessed who she was. The almighty man, perhaps you are the wife of the great god Odin in Norse mythology, Freyja. Tian said, yes, my husband is Odin. Da Vinci in the Magic Workshop never expected that there would be two great gods from Nordic mythology in this chat group, which is also too coincidental. Tian said, however, there is no existence of Yemenkade in our world. Odin had already ordered Heimdall to search for life forms with names or nicknames such as Leonix and Yemenkad in the 9 realms. In the end, Heimdall found the trace of Yemenkad in the Nordic mythology about Asgard on Earth. According to Heimdall's description, the Odin family was already aware of the Norse mythology recorded on Earth and the meaning of the name Yemenkad, but their situation was quite different from what was recorded in mythology. For example, Hela is actually the older sister of Loki, who is Odin's adopted son and does not have the presence of Yemenkade. In Marvel's cinematic universe, Yemenkad was not present until the Asgard explosion, so it is assumed that Yemenkad is not present in the MCU. No me. Xiaomi blinked her bright eyes, not expecting to encounter the orthodox Nordic gods in this chat group. After all people or things related to supernatural powers in the Dragon Clan world are related to dragons, and even Odin, the divine king, may be the Dragon King. But before she could have any more thoughts, she suddenly saw a message from Tian that the world didn't have Yemengia. Just kidding. As one of the important characters in the Twilight of the Gods, who would kill the powerful thunder god Thor without Yemenkade. Without the Nordic mythology of Yemenkade, isn't this Marvel? Unlike other people's superstitions, Ren Mu knows more. In his impression, the Nordic god system without Yemenkade seems to be Marvel. If we confirm some key conditions, such as Loki's background and Thor's birth mother, we can completely understand. However, before that, he still needed some things very much. Leonix. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt everyone's conversation, but I just looked at some features and found that group members can send each other some things. So, can there be a kind-hearted person who can help pass on some clothes, food, and water? Gudrun is really terrible. Pooh. He spat out the half-cooked meat in his mouth, causing Ren Mu to feel completely depressed. Perhaps he was starving, he didn't even consider how ordinary flames could roast the cooked meat of Gudrun. After eating bitter fruit on his own, he can only put his hope on the chat group. Seeing the monster seeking help, Xiaomi's eyes lit up and she picked up the snacks she had bought and passed them on. This is a great opportunity to get closer and make friends. Although the word Leonix was not found in Ultraman's related settings, the power to manipulate monsters is real. And if the Ultraman universe is true, then in the future when facing the Black King, maybe no matter why virtualization has turned into reality, as long as that power can be used for oneself, it is a good thing. Although Leonardo da Vinci and Freyja are not familiar with the Ultraman series, they also know the power of the monsters controlled by this group member, which are just some of the most ordinary resources. Spending these resources to befriend a powerful foreign aid would seem very cost-effective. Especially after using projection magic to recreate the battle scene, Odin waved his hand and said that I had great confidence in this young man. Asgard had taken care of all his food and clothing. Clicking on the red envelope given by Yemen, Ren Mu was quite curious about what this great god would give him to eat. Isn't it a monster? Potato chips. Little cake. Fat house happy water. Which world's Yemengia would have these? Shaking the potato chips in her hand, Ren Mu thought carefully and realized that there was indeed a world where Yemen would add these things. However, Yemen in that world was not a snake, but a little dragon girl. After taking out all the assistance from the Almighty Man and the Empress Dowager, Ren Mu first changed his tattered clothes into Asgard's superior robe, and then took a photo and sent it to the group. Leonix. Thank you all, finally you don't have to go eat Guduin anymore. That guy doesn't taste as good as the twin-tailed monster. The Almighty Man, after hearing you say that, are monsters like that very common in your universe? Leonix. Actually, these giant creatures are all classified as monsters in our universe. And monsters, like tigers and lions on Earth, are just relatively large creatures. Do you call this a bigger lion? Even the good temper of Da Vinci sauce is a bit of a bumbu resident. Leonix. Anyway, thank you all for your help. If you need any help, you can come to me. Leonix. And based on my findings, we can complete tasks in this chat group to earn points, which can be used to travel the world or transfer some special items. That's all for now. If this Yemengia is really Xiaomi, she will definitely not let go of this feature. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Where are you, Gorzon? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Where are you, Gorzon, 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 where are you? Under the stars, Ren Mu lay on a huge rock, groaning weakly. Although I unexpectedly obtained the golden finger, life should still pass, and I still have to participate in the battle of the Leonix. After several people's exploration, they summarized the functions of this chat group, including photography, video recording, live streaming, and the most important ones are check.in, transmission, and reinforcement functions. By signing in, group members can receive a fixed bonus of 1 point to around 100 points, which can be considered as a benefit provided. By using points, group members can travel the world with mutual agreement. The specific amount of points depends on the individual strength of the group members. As for the final strengthening function, it is one of the most important functions in the eyes of Ren Mu and Xiaomi. Using points can strengthen oneself or designated creatures or items. Of course, the enhancement function cannot be stacked without limits, it can only be enhanced to the peak that you can achieve. For example, if Xiaomi uses the reinforcement function for reinforcement, then without any other changes, she can at most strengthen to Hela, and cannot strengthen to become Neghold. Because Xiaomi herself has the potential to become Hela, but she absolutely cannot become Neghold, which is the greatest limitation of enhancing her function. However, even so, Xiaomi was very satisfied because it meant that as long as she worked hard, she could become Hela with this magical thing, without sacrificing her brother at all. Combined with the group's time travel function, Xiaomi has completely gained the courage to face the future. However, what she currently doesn't know is that as the Dragon King, if she hunts down the death attendants and mixed-race species, the points she will earn will be pitifully low. If she wants to gather enough points to evolve into Hela, perhaps killing all the death attendants is not enough. Although Ren Mu did not thoroughly investigate the intelligence of others, he also knew that such matters were urgent and the most important thing now was to replenish his own combat power. Because of the points earned from the first live broadcast and the first kill, Ren Mu has already smashed all the points onto Myerba. There's no way, his next goal is Golzon. If he's not prepared, Melba won't be able to cry anymore. Merba, Gorzon, IQ, Rechabas, Kayagobu, I don't know how many can be found on this planet. The road to synthesizing the 5 emperors is so far away. Looking at the combat equipment with only one grid in her hand that was lit up, Ren Mu grabbed a strand of hair and thought about how to take the next path. When Ren Mu learned that his initial monster was Melba, he was really a bit desperate, after all, the upper limit of the Melba race was not very high. But upon careful consideration, the upper limit of Melba is not very high, but it is an excellent fusion material. As mentioned earlier, Melba can serve as a fusion material for the Fiabu King, also known as the Five Emperors, who are still powerful small bosses even in the new generation with expanding combat power. If Ren Mu remembers correctly, Lobrando used Bruton's twisted spacetime to summon other multiverse monsters to the main universe of the Kingdom of Light. In the original plot alone, there were IQ, Golzon, and Xenomorphs. So, as long as he is lucky, theoretically Ren Mu can encounter all the fusion materials of the Five Emperors. In the future, Belia will be knocked down by Cero's magma, and she will be able to merge with the vengeful souls of 100 monsters to become Beliadora. So, it shouldn't be that difficult for me to merge only 5 monsters, right? With such thoughts in mind, Ren Mu would focus on searching for the corresponding monster, as for why he first sought Golzon. He is not so foolish and eager to die. Among the materials of the 5 Emperors, the only one he has hope of defeating now is Golzon. Golzon is able to absorb magma energy for evolution. On this planet full of monsters, Golzon who feels threatened will definitely first search for magma to become stronger, which means the likelihood of finding Golzon in volcanic areas is higher. Turning over on the boulder, thanks to Superman's current physical fitness and Asgard's robe, Ren Mu did not feel any cold discomfort. I can't sleep. It is difficult for people to fall asleep when they are excited. When Ren Mu was taking the college entrance examination, he stayed up all night. Now, facing a journey through time and a near-death journey to another star, he has not collapsed because he knows the plot, the confidence brought by the golden finger, and the influence of the Leonix factor. Opening the group chat, Ren Mu suddenly noticed that during his absence, the 3 ladies in the group, Da Vinci, were chatting passionately. Sure enough, it's exactly what I guessed. Looking through the chat records, Ren Mu determined his guess based on the information in it. Xiaomi of the Dragon family, Frika of the Marvel Universe, Leonardo da Vinci of the Moon World, novels, movies, games, anime, and my special film, all of the good guys are anime. With a slight roast, Ren Mu has a new plan. He wants to cross the world of other group members and fight. What he lacks the most now is time. He doesn't have the time to exchange Melba's potential for strength. Although points can be used to strengthen, they are too time-consuming. In order to be able to perform monster fusion, it is necessary to use some points to strengthen one's bloodline and leave the points of time travel for survival. So, how can one afford energy consumption? So upon careful consideration, it's better to accumulate some points to travel through the world and engage in battles. This can not only increase experience, but also make Melba stronger. Maybe there are any other adventures. The night passed like this, and in the middle of the night, Ren Mu heard the roar of the monster, saw the massive bodies of other monsters, and felt the trembling aura. It is obvious that more monsters choose to appear foraging at night. Continuing to search for the volcanic zone, Ren Mu, who had experienced a terrifying night, had decided that even if he couldn't find Golzon, he would first find a monster to replenish his combat power. A Merba was too weak. Targeting meat shields, and also having energy radiation function, otherwise we can only be beaten like the corn cob of King Red. After all, Ren Mu is currently in the Ultramultiverse, and in this world, dealing with waves is the king's way. If he doesn't deal with waves, he doesn't even have the qualification to be cannon fodder. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Silver Dragon and Black King. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Silver Dragon and Black King, Melba, use destructive light. At a height of 1 kilometer, Ren Mu used his old skills to manipulate Melba and defeat Sadra on the ground. It's another underground monster, let's have a stronger one. He was also quite helpless when he fell to the ground and retrieved Melba. Since deciding to brush points and replenish new combat power, Ren Mu has changed his style and started actively seeking monster battles. Until today, Sadra has been the third monster he has defeated. After submitting the daily task. First drop of blood, Ren Mu earned another 100 points, and with daily attendance, he now has a total of 400 points. Only 400 points, let's keep it just in case. Hurry up and come out with some new tasks. In addition to randomly refreshing tasks in the chat group, there are only daily tasks that exist for a long time based on the environment in which each group member is born. Just like what Ren Mu needs is to engage in battles, a large amount of battles, so his daily tasks are to engage in battles. Based on speculation, it is estimated that only Xiaomi's group tasks are similar to his own. The fact is, Xiaomi looked at her group of 63, which was clearly shaky, and even her mood almost didn't tense up. Except for the 60 points earned from check.in, only 1 point will be given for each daily task completed. According to the chat group's explanation, it was because there was a significant difference in strength, and as the Dragon King, killing the attendant and the lower dragon was the easiest thing for her, so only a small participation score was given. But the problem is that the whole world is similar to or even stronger than her, and there are only other Dragon Kings left. She doesn't know where those guys are sleeping. And even if she wakes up, it's not certain if she can pass the fight, so Xiaomi fell into an awkward cycle, without points. To fight Dragon King. Unable to fight. Requiring points to strengthen. Without points. To fight Dragon King. After a brief rest, Ren Mu, who was unaware of Xiaolongnu's predicament, was about to embark on a new journey when the wild monster's roar came into his ears. That's King Black and Hilbegong, damn it, I'm lucky. Looking at the two monsters fighting each other, Ren Mu's eyes widened and he said whatever he wanted. Just as he didn't have a meat shield, two monsters popped out. Black King, a bodyguard monster, stands 65 meters tall and weighs 60,000 tons. He possesses powerful power and the ability to emit smoke and 100,000-degree lava heat rays. The famous Guiman in Ottoman history competed against the Black King and the Knuckles at sunset. Hilbegong, also known as the Mighty Monster or Silver Dragon, has the power to kill GAD and defend against the simplified version of Za Pei Liao light line. It has the power to create illusions, but its only drawback is poor eyesight, which prevents it from seeing stationary life forms. It can be said that these two monsters are not only powerful, but also the type that Ren Mu urgently needs now, especially the Black King, who not only has rough skin and thick flesh but also powerful energy attack methods. Wait until both of them are defeated before I take action. No matter which one I can tame, it will greatly enhance my current strength. The monsters that were passionately fighting each other were unaware that some had already taken them into their pockets and wanted to tame them. I saw King Black suddenly punch, with a wrist strength of over 300,000 tons. Even a simple punch had the power to tear through the air and destroy mountains and rivers, let alone with the blessing of internal energy, this punch became even more fierce. This punch is 1,000 years of hard work. Faced with a fierce punch, Hilbegongs didn't hesitate and waved her short hand to face it. The collision of two huge fists can cause an air explosion that is even enough to kill any weak creature, but this kind of bombardment is not even tickling for these two behemoths. Without a single strike, the Black King swung his left hand and relied on his longer arm to launch the attack first. Unlike wild monsters like Hilbegong, as a transformed monster, the Black King did not have a short hand. Hilbegong, who was slapped in the face, roared angrily. It had never been the only one to beat others, and no monster dared to beat him. Angry, Hilbegong tightened his legs and used his horns, resembling those of a pan sheep, as a weapon, to push himself towards the Black King in place. Faced with Hilbegong's fierce attack, Black Queen remained calm, mobilizing the muscles in her tail and then swinging her powerful tail out of the center of Hilbegong's head. The tail, as a powerful weapon for many monsters, naturally contains significant strength. If it were a poorly defended monster, such as Tailstone or King Airy, it would probably have fallen to the ground. But who is Hilbegong? In terms of physical strength alone, his strength is enough to become the strongest monster in the first 23 episodes of Digga. Even after receiving such a tale, he just feels dizzy. When he gained power, he did not spare anyone. Seeing that his close combat did not cause any fatal damage, King Black began to gather energy from his body and condense it in his mouth, then spew it out instantly. The crimson lava heat rays bombarded Hilbegong's chest, and the sustained high temperatures exceeding 100,000 degrees Celsius made Hilbegong feel a bit sore. Roar! Thoroughly angered, Hilbegong did not dodge the heat rays at all, and bravely charged towards King Black with a hammer, knocking him down to the ground. Roar! Using his weight to press down on the body of King Black, Hilbegong took advantage of the pain and hit the water dog. He covered his chin with one hand to prevent King Black from releasing light, and fiercely beat his head with the other hand. I never expected that this enemy with such strong defense would capsize in the sewer of King Black, with his entire body pressed down and unable to stand up. His chin was also held down and unable to emit light, and for a moment, he could only be pinned to the ground and beaten. Is the final outcome to be decided? Gripping the combat instrument in his hand, as long as the situation is not right, Ren Mu will immediately summon Melba. However, what he never expected was that before he could take action, two strong currents appeared from the empty space and instantly hit the struggling Black King in Hilbegong. The praying mantis catches cicadas, and the yellow sparrow is behind me. Surprisingly, there is still a yellow sparrow behind me, the praying mantis. Ren Mu furrowed his brows and looked at the two inner dragons that appeared from their invisible state, knowing that something was wrong now. The transparent monster has the ability to absorb electricity, become transparent, and release lightning. It can be said that it is not a weak monster, especially when it becomes transparent, even its body temperature can change with the environment. If there was only one, then Ren Mu could still compete under the temptation of two monsters. But now, the two inner dragons are not something we can solve on our own. Quietly moving his body, although it was a pity, Ren Mu could only spare this once-in-a lifetime opportunity to search for other monsters. Just before he left here, he saw a familiar figure. Knuckles. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Conquering Pokémon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Conquering Pokémon Assassination of the Cosmos Naker, one of the famous Cosmos in Otto's history, with the most famous achievement being defeating Jack with King Black at sunset. It is a tribe that often uses cunning and unbelievable tactics. When Ren Mu saw the Naker people, they also noticed him. You are Leonix from Earth. I didn't expect humans to have the power of that adult too. Grasping the combat instrument tightly, Ren Mu spoke out, "Why, do you want to fight me to eliminate a competitor?" "Fight, no, on the contrary. I want to cooperate with you." Collaboration. As he quietly moved his body to occupy a powerful position for easy violence, Ren Mu sneered, "Your reputation in the universe is not that good. Why should I cooperate with you?" The Naker people awkwardly scratched their heads, and indeed, their reputation in the universe is not very good, usually known for their despicability and cunning. It's a bit difficult for other cosmologists to believe him. I think you're a bit interested in those two monsters, right? There are two inner dragon GA on the field now. Let's defeat them together, and then how about helping you conquer the other monster when I conquer the Black Queen? Conquering monsters. Ren Mu's brain started to function and he began to think about whether he could make this transaction. Without a doubt, there are 4 monsters currently fighting on the scene, and one cannot intervene in this battle alone. If you still want to tame a monster as originally planned, collaborating with the Knuckles seems to be the only option. Moreover, in terms of purpose alone, there seems to be nothing suspicious. Everyone in the entire universe knows that the Knuckles are skilled at manipulating the Black King, and playing both can create a 1+1 effect. Collaborating with oneself, one person, one monster is also normal. But can I really believe him? After much contemplation, Ren Mu decided to give it a go. It's not enough not to give it a go. The planet he is currently on is incredibly huge, several times the size of Earth, but in just 3 days, he met the Naker Man. This already indicates that the Leonix in the universe has gradually converged onto this planet, and the chicken-eating competition belonging to Leonix will start at any time. No, maybe it has already started now. If we don't take advantage of this good opportunity to replenish our combat power, let alone synthesize the 5 emperors, we might end up on the street in the next second. So how do you want to collaborate? Seeing Ren Musong's release, the Naker star excitedly said, now that the Black King and Hilbegong are extremely weak, we only need to cooperate with them to defeat the ambush of Nalanga, and there is a high probability of subduing them. The Knuckles did not lie, or rather he only told half of the truth. As a race that has been using the Black King for hundreds of thousands of years, the Knuckles have accumulated valuable experience in taming the Black King. Even in the wild, they can easily tame it. Therefore, he is so kind in proposing suggestions because he has absolute confidence. If this human Leonix could tame another monster, he wouldn't do much. After all, there are still so many strong enemies, and he doesn't want to spend too much energy. If he can't win, then don't blame him for eliminating a competitor early. Of course not to kill, but to destroy his combat equipment. In the entire Leonix duel, apart from unexpected factors such as LeBrando and the main characters, a normal duel is just killing all the monsters and destroying the combat equipment, and will not threaten the life of Leonix himself. After all, only Leonix, who has reached a certain level, will be connected to the life of monsters, injured or even killed like them. That is to say, the weak rooster Leonix will not be in danger of his life, while those who are powerful will be injured or even killed in battle. It must be said that this is a great irony, the weak live and the strong die. Since that's the case, let's take action. Ren Mu wouldn't believe the words of the Naker Star people, but the current situation is favorable to him and he won't take the initiative to expose them. However, he was also prepared to turn his back. As long as the Knuckles dared to make a move, he would pull out the Asgard Friendship Sponsorship's peerless sword forged by the magic Uru and pierce the opponent's head. At the same time, they took out their combat equipment and both sides instinctively retreated several hundred meters, then summoned their respective monsters. Come out, Melba. Come out, Astron. Giant monsters appear in the world with flashes of light, and under the control of their masters, they attack different inner dragon GA. When Ren Mu saw the Astron summoned by the Starlings, he nodded clearly. As a monster with similar abilities and appearance to the Black King, it was normal for the Starlings to use it as a substitute. Melba, destroy the light and attack both corners. Due to its stealth ability and discharge power, it is no longer possible to carry out flight tactics this time. It is necessary to first destroy both corners in order to solve the battle more quickly. Orange lightning rays shot out, intending to instantly destroy the horns of Nylonga, but unfortunately Nylonga is not a vegetarian either. After noticing the appearance of other monsters at the scene, he forcefully twisted his body, allowing the light to hit his hard back instead of his more fragile horns. Melba, pay attention to the current attack and steer it away from here. Due to his fragile physique, Ren Mu dared not let Melba engage in close combat. The current paralysis effect is really advantageous in close combat. Roar! Melba spread his wings and flew back into the sky, harassing Nalonga and attracting its attention. On the other side, Astron has also entangled another Nalonga. After watching the enraged Nalonga chase after Melba and leave, Ren Mu approached the collapsed Hilbegong and raised his combat equipment, saying seriously, I will help you defeat all the enemies, and your power will also make me the strongest Leonix. Lend your power to use, Hilbegong. I don't think you want to die in such humiliation here either. Give full play to your own LeBron bloodline, Ren Mu will transmit his thoughts and ideas to Hilbegong. If you want revenge and want to continue living, become my strength, and I will take you to become the strongest. Seemingly moved by Ren Mu's beliefs, Hilbegong looked at Nalonga, who had ambushed him not far away, and then glanced at the Black King, who had transformed into a beam of light and entered the combat equipment. He let out a roar and then turned into a golden light and entered the combat equipment. The second monster, Silver Dragon Hilbegong, subdue. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Heart Not Willing to Lose Strength. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Heart Not Willing to Lose Strength. Oh, it seems that the human Leonix is not a weakling either. The Knuckles were slightly surprised. He was able to tame the Black King so quickly because of his understanding of the monster's habits, but Hilbegong had no tacit understanding with the Earthlings. Being able to conquer so quickly must have developed the human Leonix bloodline to a very powerful point. With a fiery gaze, he looked at the second illuminated grid in his hand. With the power of Leonix and the strengthening of 200 points, Hilbegong's injuries were rapidly recovering. Ah! Waving his arms, even though the language between humans and monsters was different, at this moment, Ren Mu understood the Silver Dragon's idea that it wanted to defeat the daring inner dragon GA with its own hands. Come back, Melba. Taking back Melba, who had been walking his dog all the time due to his speed advantage, Ren Mu released Hilbegong, who was in good condition. Roar! Faced with the guy who attacked him, Hilbegong angrily waved his arm, wanting to move forward and attack the enemy directly. But due to being hundreds of meters away from Nylonga, Nylonga entered a transparent state faster. Invisible again. It has to be said that there are many monsters that can release electricity, but there are not many that can achieve perfect invisibility. But fortunately, I had anticipated this move a long time ago. Don't think you can easily run away, Nylonga. Hilbegong, sweep the left side. Upon receiving the master's command, Hilbegong did not hesitate and mobilized the muscles in his tail to swing to the left with all his might. A heavy blow capable of shattering the mountain peak struck Nylonga's face in an instant, shattering its horns with just one blow. It has to be said that monsters with horns are easy to break, don't you think so, Digga, Leo? Excitedly gazing at Nylonga, which had been knocked down by itself, Hilbegong began its revenge. By the way, it is worth mentioning that the data for Nylonga is usually 45 meters tall and weighs 40,000 tons, while Hilbegong is 65 meters tall and weighs 75,000 tons. It can be imagined that this will be a fierce battle. A few minutes later, satisfied Hilbegong returned to Ren Mu's combat equipment, and behind it was Nylonga, who had been beaten into a paste. How did you see through Nylonga's invisibility ability? That guy can even change his body temperature. The Naker, who had finished cleaning up the other Nylonga, curiously asked, did he rely on high-tech equipment to solve transparency? And what did this Earthling rely on? Guess what? Faced with the other party's doubts, Ren Mu did not explain, he did not command Melba to leave some significant marks on Nylonga's body. After all, as a potential enemy, it's not a bad thing to make the other party think they have a trump card. Don't worry about humans, it's not yet the time for the final Leonix duel, let's take this planet as an example. There's still 1 month left before the official battle begins. But before that, I believe there would be many LeBronx players willing to deal with their opponents ahead of time. After all, the ultimate winner would inherit the power of the omniscient LeBronx and rule the entire universe. The Knuckles, under such a huge temptation, don't say those deceitful nonsense. Although from the original plot alone, ordinary duels do not endanger life, they only destroy the opponent's combat equipment, rendering them ineligible to continue fighting as the Leonix. But this kind of threat is enough to make Ren Mu value his life more than his own. Why did he receive Odin's strong support in the chat group? Why is it just a simple act of showing off, and Xiaomi will come to establish relationships and get close to him? Why can Da Vinci help him make some magic costumes? Because of his power, because of his immense power, he has the ability to help other members of the group overcome crises, and has the possibility of becoming the future god who governs the entire universe. It is precisely because of these prerequisites that he is favored by others. If he were just an ordinary person, where would he have the capital to stand up and where would he have the capital to negotiate terms? Not to mention making little dragon girl actively approach her, even kind-hearted Freya and Da Vinci won't pay too much attention to themselves. This is not about personal character, but about the difference in the essence of life. After tasting the taste of power, how could he be willing to lose this extraordinary power? Thank you for your intelligence, Naker. If I defeat you in the future, I may retain your qualification as the Leopold Nix. Goodbye. Leaping off the cliff, Ren Mu summoned Melba to fly towards the distance. Before the battle ceremony that affected the entire universe ended, he would not believe any Leonix, even the original protagonist Ray. After 7 twists and turns, Ren Mu found an inconspicuous cave and withdrew Mayerba to hide inside. Now he has 2 monsters, one in air combat and one on land, and his basic combat power has been formed. Next, all he needs to do is wait for Hilbegong's injury to heal, and he will set off to search for Gorzen and try to merge with Melba. Leonix. A newly harvested monster, I have to say today's luck is really good. After taking a break, Ren Mu took a photo of Hilbegong in the combat equipment and uploaded it to the chat group. Yemenjia said, the new monster looks a bit cute. Xiaomi, who had already memorized all the settings of the Ultraman series, recognized at a glance what the monster Ren Mu uploaded was. The silver dragon Hilbegong, with terrifying monster power that made Dijia Ultraman fight for it. The almighty man, I'm afraid it's not just cute, but it must also be very powerful. Through mutual communication and exchange, everyone in the chat group also knows a little about each other's world. For example, Yemengad is not actually a big snake but a dragon, and Asgard, where the queen is located, is actually an interstellar civilization. They also know that Ren Mu is currently undergoing a ceremony to select a new god. As long as he defeats his fellow beings in the entire universe, he can inherit the mantle of a god named Lobrando and rule the entire universe. For Ren Mu's experience, others can only silently bless him. Not to mention that this is someone else's trial, even if he wants to help, he doesn't have the ability, especially Xiaomi. She is the one who hopes most for Ren Mu to win until the end. After gaining points and strengthening into Hyla, the path is temporarily blocked. Only Ren Mu in the chat group has the power to solve the crisis she will face. Leonix. Indeed, although Hilbegong cannot compare to its fellow tribe Goldrass, it is still a powerful monster that gives me more confidence in the upcoming battles. Although lacking long-range attack ability is somewhat regrettable, as long as using integral reinforcement to evolve Hilbegong into the King of Hilbegong, not only can it possess the ability to destroy light bullets, but it can also solve vision problems, which are serious weaknesses. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Magic Use of Integral. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Magic Use of Integral. Leonix. In the battle just now, I encountered the Knuckles, based on the time of my current planet. There is still 1 month left, and even less than a month, the war will break out, and I don't know what kind of enemy I will encounter. The almighty man, is it a month? I still have 7 days left here, and the spiritual child transfer will officially take place. What about the other group members? Tian said, in 3 days, Thor will ascend to the throne and become the new king of Asgard. I don't know if that child can become an excellent king. Yemenjia said, me. I really have nothing to do lately. Watching everyone in the chat group except for herself have important events recently, Xiaomi hesitated for a moment. As a world closely related to Nordic mythology, the Dragon Clan. The word fate runs through the entire process, and as the Dragon King, Xiaomi naturally wouldn't believe in fate as a damn thing. Is there anything important lately that I have forgotten? It's impossible. I'm not human, how could I forget things? Ren Mu looked at the message sent by Xiaomi and had a guess in her heart. If she hadn't lied and the timeline was still in 2004, the most important thing would have been for Chu Zihang and Chu Tianjiao to enter the Nibelungen of Odin. Odin. It seems that I may have gained something from this incident. As an unknown god in the dragon race, Odin's appearance is quite mysterious. If we don't seize this opportunity, then there won't be a good opportunity like now. The Almighty Man, well, let's skip this topic. At Leonix, I have already made the magic costume you need. Do you need to teleport now? Leonix. So fast. Not to mention the famous Da Vinci in history, thank you. The Almighty Man, it's just a matter of lifting a finger. Making these magic costumes is not a difficult task, and as a reward, the value of those points far exceeds that of the magic costumes. Leonardo da Vinci is very serious about this, because magic costumes are nothing to someone as advanced as her, but the integration that can strengthen herself and any object is incredibly valuable. Yemenkade said, "Why do you need points to teleport these magical items? You don't even need those foods." Leonix. Is this because whether it's the Asgard sword or the magic costume, they all contain mysterious power? We come from different worlds, and the rules of the world are definitely different. My world won't be like Leonardo da Vinci's. The physical laws of the lunar world are set as a thin film laid on a planet, which means that different planets have different physical laws, so this point should be a modification of the item, so that mysterious powers from another universe can still work. The Almighty Man, that's right, and there should be 3 directions of influence. The stronger the item, the more mysterious it is, and the greater the difference between the world of the sender and receiver, the more points are needed. Leonix. So if we want to meet in the future, we still need a lot of points. Ren Mu took a look and found that if he were to cross the Dragon Clan world now, he would need 1,000 points, while the Type Moon would be more expensive. Perhaps due to a root cause obstruction, he would need 5,000 points. The most eerie one is the Marvel world, which only requires a small participation point. That is to say, it only takes 1 minute to travel to the Marvel universe. Regarding this, Ren Mu can only express that you are strong and impressive, and everything you say is right. As for Marvel Universe, which is a magical place where a single universe is not as good as a dog, a multiverse is everywhere, an infinitely diverse stepping stone, an all-around universe will be on the streets, and transcending domains will be blasted, he probably just wants to save face by charging himself a point. Although other members of the group didn't know why the fees in the world where the queen was located were so low, Xiaomi was slightly excited, which means that even if she didn't earn enough points to evolve into Hela in the end, she could still successfully run away and avoid the fate of death. However, thinking of her older brother who only had a child's level of intelligence, Xiaomi appeared as worried as a human. She could run away, but what about her brother? Fenrir didn't join this chat group, he can't run. As twins who have accompanied each other for thousands of years, if it weren't for the final moment, how could she be willing to kill Fenrir? She stared at Ren Mu in the chat group, with a hint of hope in her eyes. In the current situation where she couldn't quickly become Hela, only Ren Mu had the power to overcome fate. After all, according to what he said, he is participating in a ceremony to select an heir from a deity, and if successful, he will have the power to rule the entire universe. That kind of power must be able to defeat him, right? Regarding Xiaomi's mentality, Ren Mu probably knows some from the original work. In fact, after accumulating a certain amount of points, he will apply to Xiaomi to travel to the world of the Dragon Clan. Although the entire world, except for the fully bodied Black King, can be seen, all other dragons placed in the Ort universe are stinky fish and rotten shrimp. But its unique spiritual system has some merits. Ren Mu wants to try to obtain the special genes of dragons, and then return to the ultra space to collaborate with some well-known monster breeding experts to make his monsters stronger. In addition, there is something even more important than Yen Ling in Ren Mu's eyes. Explosive blood. This is a technology invented by the first-generation members of the Lionheart Society, which not only allows the hybrid species used to temporarily possess strong power, but also enhances their own bloodline concentration. In the decisive battle between Chu Zihang and Xiaomi in Dragon Clan 2, Chu Zihang, who had exploded his health 4 times, even approached the Dragon King infinitely, relying on his explosive health. Ren Mu's physical condition is similar to that of a mixed race, both of which have a powerful gene in the human body that transforms him into a non-human. So he wants to try using explosive health or related techniques to help himself improve LeBron's multiple factors and make himself stronger. As for the so-called side effects, it is said that Ren Mu really wants to have a little more. After all, the Leonix rampage not only has a strong desire for battle and destruction, but also makes the monsters they belong to become even more powerful. Isn't it possible to save a lot of points in this way? After giving Da Vinci the points as compensation and teleportation fees, Ren Mu looked at his pitiful few hundred points and couldn't help but sigh. Xiaomi needs a lot of points to evolve into Hela, and he also needs it. Monster evolution, evolution of one's own bloodline, enhancement of combat equipment, and crossing the world all require points in many places. If there is enough time, of course he can gradually become stronger on his own, but time waits for no one. The final battle of the Lebronx has already begun to break out. If he doesn't seize the last month to become stronger, his ultimate fate will only be failure. Everyone, please bookmark and give some recommended tickets to give the author some confidence. Thank you all. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Siwen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Siwen. Under the radiance of the stars, Ren Mu, who had just woken up, was moving his body to prevent any mistakes during battles or running. Even though he has become the Leonix, the limitations of the human body still prevent him from getting rid of eating and sleeping. Leonix. Good morning everyone, it's a new day. Ren Mu, who once lived an ordinary life, felt like she was in a stagnant pool, without passion or anything that made people's hearts race, just living to live. But when I fell into a battle that required life and death, I realized how beautiful even the peaceful life of the past was. Yemenjia said, "Good morning." In order to better integrate into human society, Xiaomi will imitate every move of humans, including their language, lifestyle habits, thinking inertia, etc. Sleep, the most important thing for humans, will not fall behind. Leonix. It seems that there are only the two of us idle people in the group. Recently, whether it's Leonardo da Vinci or Princess Freyja, they have very important things to be busy with. Although Ren Mu still faces a lot of battles, there is still time for the water group. Unlike the other two who need to constantly pay attention to the body data and various equipment of the Emperor, the other one needs to organize the entire Asgard and some friendly civilizations to attend Thor's ascension ceremony properly. Yemenjia said, "Don't forget yourself, your situation is the most dangerous among us. Freyja is the queen of Asgard, and it is almost impossible for any accidents to cause death, while Da Vinci is a staff member behind the scenes and it is not her turn to go to the front line. Even though she herself was facing the danger of her father's awakening, as long as her heart was ruthless and devoured Fenrir, she could still overcome the difficulties. Only Ren Mu needs real weapons and knives to fight against all enemies and embark on the path of becoming a god." Leonix. Well, don't worry, I don't want to die yet. He has never seen Ultraman, never seen the charm of the universe, and has never traveled to any other world with his crew. How could he be willing to die on this barren planet? After breakfast, Ren Mu continued on his journey forward, but this time his action was bolder, summoning Melba to fly in the sky and search for Golzon's trail everywhere. Compared to the ground, the sky appears safer. After flying at normal speed for more than 10 minutes, Ren Mu was not attacked, completely different from the dangerous ground. Upon careful consideration, although monsters cannot speak, it does not mean they lack intelligence. In the situation where this planet has become extremely dangerous, except for those confident monsters, any monster that can cross the universe should have run away. Leave only those monsters that cannot fly. Glancing at the 50 points he had just signed in and the refreshed daily tasks, Ren Mu was preparing to find a monster near the volcanic zone to battle. He now had over 400 points, and in about a week, he would be able to accumulate points to travel to the Dragon Clan world. That's it. Ren Mu, who had just finished his calculations, had not yet found the volcano. A bright light shone into his eyes from a distant mountain. When Ren Mu saw the light comparable to that of a star, he also saw the battle between the two giants. Amidst the blazing flames, a giant wielding a trident and a long sword battled against a giant wielding an ice axe. The black sword collided with the silver ice axe under the control of the giant, and the energy waves generated by the clash of darkness and light constantly destroyed the planet beneath their feet. A strong pain emanated from his brain, causing Ren Mu to kneel on Melba's back with his head in pain. In an instant, he received a large amount of information, and even his non-human physical fitness couldn't bear it. Sweating all over, Ren Mu lifted his head. He knew what the source of the light was. Ot Siwen's head dart. Unlike the original protagonist Ray, Ren Mu has a clear understanding of intelligence about the Ultraman series, such as the roots of the Leonix battle and why Sean Ultraman is here. The dark armor is a dark artifact created tens of thousands of years ago by the great emperor of the dark universe, the Amperians. Wearing it by the Amperians themselves can enhance their combat power by 100 times. For other cosmic beings, although the increase is not as terrifying, it can also greatly enhance combat effectiveness. 10,000 years ago, the dark armor and Phoenix Dream bias disappeared after the war and only reappeared 10,000 years later, which is now. And it was by chance that Siwen learned about the intelligence of the dark armor that he came to the planet of Hama and fought against the dark armor. In the end, he sealed the armor at the cost of wearing it himself. Command Melba to go to the location of the ice axe, and Ren Mu picked up the magic costume made by Da Vinci with a bitter smile. Although I know that you are very good at Dubai cheese sauce, the effect is also too good. You directly pushed Siwen to the front. The magic costume that Ren Mu asked Da Vinci to help make only has one function, which is to increase luck and make oneself more lucky. He doesn't need an increase in combat power, because as far as the increase in combat power of magic costumes is concerned, it won't have a significant impact on the upcoming battles. At this stage, what he needs most is to quickly synthesize the 5 emperors and hold an ace in his hand. It is obviously unrealistic to search for monsters all over the planet, so Ren Mu uses magic props to enhance his luck and achieve his goals. But what he never expected was that he had not yet encountered the synthetic monster, yet he was the first to encounter the storyline of Siwen. Jumping off Melba's body, Ren Mu picked up the ice axe half buried in the soil and felt the light emanating from it. He vaguely understood why Severn attracted him to come here. The reason is simple, because he is a human, and Siwen loves humans. He believed that even if they never met, humans could still fight against the darkness of the universe with Ultraman, just like 10,000 years ago. 7th Lord, this is really true. Although he was aware that he was not a match for the dark armor at this moment, Ren Mu still chose to put away the ice axe. Apart from this being Siwen's hope for humanity, it is impossible for Ren Mu to stay here with an ice axe solely from a profit perspective. Nowadays, Siwen is sealed by the dark armor, and only by returning the ice axe to its original owner can he be rescued. If Siwen is saved, there is no doubt that he will connect with the Kingdom of Light. That's the Kingdom of Light. Since the ice axe has appeared, the Ampere sword will also come to life, attracting life forms to release the dark armor, just like in the original book, which lured the Memphis people. The plot quickly flashed through my mind, regardless of whether it was a conspiracy of the LeBron Dorians or just for my own benefit, this path must continue. And Ren Mu didn't believe it. What the original protagonist Lei could do, even with his golden finger in his hand, he couldn't do it. If there are any shortcomings in my writing, please point them out and I will learn from them. End of this chapter.